The scent of rosemary and garlic filled my kitchen, a perfect harmony that had taken hours to achieve. I'd spent my entire Sunday preparing this roast, determined to make tonight's dinner special. Ryan deserved a proper celebration for his promotion, even if his mother insisted on joining us. I'm Camille, and until today I thought I knew exactly how to handle my mother-in-law's peculiarities. The sound of the front door opening made me tense. Linda's voice carried through the house before I could even see her. "Oh, Ryan, darling, I brought your favorite pot roast, the one you've loved since you were little." My fingers gripped the counter's edge. She wasn't supposed to arrive for another hour, and I definitely hadn't invited her to bring food. The click of her heels against the hardwood grew louder, each step a countdown to inevitable confrontation. "Something smells interesting in here," Linda announced, sweeping into my kitchen like she owned it. Her designer handbag swung from one arm, while the other clutched a ceramic dish to her chest. "I made Ryan's favorite," I said, forcing a smile. "Remember? We discussed this last week. I wanted to surprise him." Linda's perfectly lined lips curved into something between a smile and a sneer. "Did we? Must have slipped my mind." She set her dish on the counter and lifted the lid off mine. Her nose wrinkled. "Oh dear, is this supposed to be pot roast?" "It's braised beef with rosemary and garlic," I explained, though I knew it wouldn't matter. "Ryan mentioned loving it last time we had it at—" "Sweetheart," Linda cut in, already pulling on disposable gloves she'd produced from her purse. "My Ryan has very specific tastes. He's always been sensitive about his food. I don't think this will agree with him at all." Before I could stop her, she grabbed my roast, the one I'd spent hours preparing, and dropped it straight into the garbage. The thud of meat hitting the bottom of the bin echoed through the kitchen like a gunshot. "There. Now we can serve him something proper." She turned to her own dish, humming as if she hadn't just destroyed hours of my work. Ryan chose that moment to walk in, loosening his tie. "Something smells amazing, Mom." He kissed her cheek, then glanced at me. "Where's that roast you mentioned this morning, Cam?" "Your mother threw it away," I said flatly. "Oh, come on now," he laughed, as if I just told a joke. "Mom wouldn't do that." Linda patted his cheek. "Camille's just upset because her experiment didn't turn out right. You know how sensitive she can be about these things. Luckily, I brought your favorite." I watched Ryan's face, waiting for him to defend me, to question his mother's version of events. Instead, he grinned and reached for the serving spoon. "You're the best, Mom. Nobody makes pot roast like you do." Something snapped inside me then. Not loudly, not dramatically, but definitively, like a thread pulled too tight finally giving way. I'd spent 3 years trying to be the perfect wife, trying to navigate Linda's constant undermining with grace. But standing there, watching my husband eagerly dig into his mother's food while mine rotted in the garbage, I realized grace wasn't going to cut it anymore. "I'm going out," I announced, grabbing my keys. "But dinner's ready," Ryan protested, his mouth already full. "Eat with your mother," I said, heading for the door. "You two deserve each other." As I walked out, I heard Linda's voice. "She's always been so dramatic, hasn't she? You really must learn to handle her better, darling." I got into my car and started driving, no destination in mind. But for the first time since I'd married Ryan, I felt something other than hurt or resignation. I felt rage, pure, clarifying rage. And underneath that rage was something even more dangerous, a plan beginning to take shape. I spent 3 hours driving that night, finally ending up at Alex's apartment. She took one look at my face and pulled me inside, already reaching for the wine. "You look like you've either committed murder or you're planning to," she said, pouring generously. "The night's still young." I accepted the glass, sinking into her couch. Linda threw my dinner in the garbage, right in front of me, and Ryan... My voice caught. He just laughed it off. Alex's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then held it up. "Speaking of your husband, that's his 4th text asking where you are." "Let him worry." I took a long sip. "For once." "You need to start documenting this stuff," Alex said, grabbing her laptop. "Every incident, every text, every time she shows up unannounced. Trust me, you'll want a record." "For what? Divorce?" The word hung in the air, heavier than I'd expected. for whatever comes next. She opened a new document. Start talking. By midnight, we had 3 pages of incidents. Reading them laid out like that, clinical and chronological, made my stomach turn. It wasn't just tonight's dinner. It was 3 years of calculated humiliation. My phone lit up with another text, this time from Linda. Ryan's very upset. A good wife wouldn't abandon her husband like this. Come home and we can discuss your behavior. She's unbelievable, Alex muttered, reading over my shoulder. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Ryan. Where are you? His voice was tight. Mom's worried sick. Mom's worried? I laughed. That's rich. Tell me, Ryan, did you even look in the garbage? Did you check to see if I was lying about what she did? Come on, Cam. You know how Mom gets. She just wants what's best for me. And what about what's best for us? For our marriage? Silence stretched between us. Then, maybe if you tried harder to understand her? I'm coming home, I cut him off. But not tonight. I need space. Space? He sounded genuinely confused. From what? If you have to ask, that's part of the problem. I hung up before he could respond. Alex closed her laptop. Stay here tonight. We'll figure this out tomorrow. But the next morning brought fresh hell. Linda had let herself into our house again and was organizing my closet when I got home. Oh good, you're back, she said, not looking up from where she was sorting my clothes into piles. These really aren't suitable for Ryan's new position. We should donate them. I stood in the doorway, watching her handle my carefully curated wardrobe like discount store rejects. Get out of my closet, Linda. Now, dear, there's no need for hostility. I'm helping you understand the standards expected of an executive's wife. The standards? My voice was eerily calm. Like throwing away food I spent hours preparing? Like undermining every decision I make in my own home? She straightened, smoothing her expensive blouse. I've raised a successful son. I know what's best for him. You're still learning, and that's okay. But your resistance to guidance is concerning. Where's Ryan? At work, of course. He was very hurt by your behavior last night. I suggested he give you time to collect yourself. Of course she did. I pulled out my phone and started taking pictures of the closet scene. What are you doing? Linda's voice sharpened. Documenting. Alex suggested it might be helpful. Something flickered across Linda's face, the first genuine emotion I'd seen from her. Fear, maybe? But it vanished quickly behind her usual mask of concern. That Alex, she said softly. She's not a very positive influence, is she? I was just telling Ryan how worried I am about your friendship with her. The threat was clear. Back off, or I'll poison Ryan against your best friend, too. I lowered my phone, meeting her gaze. You know what, Linda? Keep sorting. In fact, why don't you just move in? Take over completely? Because this, right here, this is the moment you've finally gone too far. I walked out, leaving her standing among piles of my clothes, and pulled out my phone to text Alex. You're right. I need to document everything, and then I need a lawyer. The family dinner was Linda's idea, of course. A chance to clear the air, she said. I knew better, but I went anyway, dressed in clothes she hadn't managed to donate during her closet raid. Ryan's childhood home loomed before me, all perfect landscaping and pristine windows. Inside, voices drifted from the dining room. I caught fragments of conversation that stopped abruptly when I entered. Camille? Linda's smile didn't reach her eyes. We were just discussing you. Tom, my father-in-law, shot me an apologetic look. He was the only one who seemed genuinely happy to see me. Ryan told us about your emotional outbursts lately, Linda continued, arranging silverware that was already perfectly aligned. We're concerned. Are we? I looked at Ryan. Or is this another private discussion between you and your mother? Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Cam, don't start. Actually, Linda interrupted, there's something we need to address. She pulled out an envelope from her purse. I didn't want to bring this up, but given your recent behavior. My stomach dropped as she removed several printed pages. I recognized them immediately. Screenshots of text messages between Alex and me, discussing Linda's behavior and my plans to document everything. Going through my phone, Ryan? My voice was barely above a whisper. When? He couldn't meet my eyes. Mom needed to show me. Show you what? I snatched the papers from Linda's hands. That I'm tired of being undermined in my own marriage? That I'm documenting your mother's abuse? Abuse? Linda's voice cracked with practiced emotion. Is that what you're telling people about me? About our family? She turned to Ryan. You see, this is exactly what I warned you about. The signs were there from the beginning. Signs of what? I demanded. Your instability, dear. Your paranoid tendencies, just like your mother. The room went silent. Tom's fork clattered against his plate. What are you talking about? I asked, but deep down I already knew. Linda had been digging. It wasn't hard to find out about your mother's hospitalization, Linda said softly. The mental health issues that run in your family. Why didn't you tell us before the wedding, Camille? My mother's breakdown after my father's death had been private, a brief, dark period she'd recovered from completely. I'd never told Ryan's family because it wasn't their business. But now, you investigated my family? I turned to Ryan. And you knew about this? Mom was worried, he mumbled. She thought I should know. Know what? That my mother needed help after watching my father die? That she got that help and recovered? Unlike some people who just manipulate and destroy everything they touch? Linda gasped. Ryan, do you hear how she talks to me? Enough. Tom's voice cut through the tension. Linda, this is cruel, even for you. Stay out of this, Linda snapped at her husband. Our son needs to understand what kind of woman he married. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. You want to know what kind of woman I am, Linda? I'm the kind who's done playing your games. I turned to Ryan. And you? You went through my phone, shared private conversations with your mother, helped her dig up painful parts of my past to use against me. Camille, please. Ryan reached for my hand. We can work this out. I pulled away. Can we? Because right now, I'm not sure what's worse, your mother's manipulation, or the fact that you're too weak to stand up to it. Don't you dare call my son weak, Linda hissed. Why not? It's the truth. And here's another truth. I'm done with all of this. With you, with your games, and with my spineless husband who can't cut the umbilical cord. I walked out, ignoring Ryan's calls behind me. In my car, my hands shook as I pulled out my phone and dialed Alex. Remember when you said I should document everything? My voice was steady despite the tears streaming down my face. Well, now I need that lawyer, and I need you to help me plan something special for Linda, something she'll never see coming. The line was quiet for a moment. Then Alex said, Come over, we've got work to do. The text from Tom came 3 days after the disastrous dinner. Coffee? Just us. Need to talk. We met at a small cafe across town, far from Linda's usual haunts. Tom looked older than I remembered, his shoulders heavy with something more than years. I've been watching this happen before, he said, sliding into the booth, with Ryan's first serious girlfriend in college. Linda drove her away too, but this... He pulled out his phone. This is different. He showed me a video, Linda in their kitchen, speaking to someone off camera. Camille's becoming a problem, her voice crackled through the speaker. We need to handle this before she ruins everything. Ryan's finally getting somewhere in his career, and I won't let her emotional instability destroy that. When was this? My coffee went cold, untouched. Last week, before she dug up that information about your mother. Tom's expression hardened. She's been planning this for months, building a case against you. Why are you showing me this? Because I failed the last time, stayed quiet, watched that poor girl crumble under Linda's schemes. He leaned forward. But you're different. You're fighting back. And I want to help. My phone buzzed. Ryan calling again. I declined it, watching 3 text messages pop up immediately. He's worried, Tom said. But not about you, about losing control. Linda's taught him well. I can't keep living like this, I admitted. But leaving, everyone will blame me. They'll say I gave up, that I'm unstable, just like Linda wants them to think. Unless you change the narrative. Tom pulled out a manila envelope. I've been keeping records, dates, incidents, witnesses, Linda's pattern of behavior, not just with you, but with everyone she sees as a threat to her control over Ryan. I opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Years of documented manipulation lay before me. Notes, photos, emails. A systematic dismantling of anyone who got too close to Ryan. Why didn't you stop her? I tried once, early in our marriage. His smile was bitter. Nearly lost everything, including custody of Ryan. Linda's very good at turning things around, making herself the victim. I learned to document instead of confront. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Linda. Ryan's heartbroken. If you come home now, we can work through your issues together, as a family. Tom read the message over my shoulder and snorted. Translation, come back so I can finish destroying you. I won't, I said, surprising myself with the steel in my voice. But I need to be smart about this. Linda's already painting me as unstable. If I move too quickly, she'll use it against you, Tom finished. But what if you gave her exactly what she expects? Let her think she's winning while I what? While you build your case. Linda's confident right now, sloppy. The more evidence you gather, the harder it'll be for her to spin this her way. I studied Tom's face. Why help me now? Why not earlier? Because earlier, you were trying to save your marriage. Now? He gestured to the documentation. Now you're trying to save yourself, and that's a fight worth backing. My phone lit up with another message. Alex this time. Meeting with the lawyer set for tomorrow. You ready? I looked at Tom's evidence, then at my father-in-law's weary, determined face. I need to copy all of this, I said. And then we need to talk strategy. Linda wants a war? Let's give her one she'll never forget. Be careful, Tom warned. Linda's dangerous when she's cornered. So am I. I gathered the documents, my mind already racing with possibilities. And, unlike her previous victims, I know exactly what I'm dealing with. No more playing defense. It's time to show Linda what happens when she picks the wrong target. As I left the cafe, I felt lighter somehow. Not because the path ahead was clear, but because for the first time, I wasn't fighting this battle alone. And sometimes, that's all the advantage you need. Linda's annual charity gala was her crown jewel, the event where she paraded her perfect family in front of Seattle's elite. This year, she'd insisted I attend, despite our growing tension. Now I knew why. The ballroom sparkled with crystal and old money, but Linda's smile gleamed sharper than both as she clinked her glass for attention. I'd like to thank everyone for supporting our cause, helping families affected by mental illness. My champagne glass nearly slipped from my fingers. Next to me, Alex tensed. This cause is particularly close to our hearts, Linda continued, her eyes finding mine across the room. Sometimes these struggles touch our own families in ways we never expect. The room blurred. She wouldn't dare. My dear daughter-in-law's family has faced these challenges personally. Camille, darling, would you share your story? Your courage could inspire others. The silence felt like a noose. Dozens of faces turned toward me, expecting inspiration, expecting vulnerability, expecting me to play my assigned role in Linda's performance. I set my glass down with deliberate care. You're right, Linda. Family struggles with mental illness are important to discuss. I stepped forward, voice steady. Like the way some people use manipulation and gaslighting to control their loved ones. That's a form of emotional abuse, isn't it? Linda's smile flickered. Perhaps this isn't the appropriate venue, but you brought it up. I moved closer to the center of the room. Let's talk about it. About mothers who can't let go of their sons. About wives who document their mother-in-law's systematic emotional abuse. About husbands who check their wives' phones for their mothers. Camille. Ryan appeared at my elbow, voice low. You're making a scene. Am I? Or is your mother finally facing consequences? Linda recovered quickly, laughing lightly. You see what stress can do? Ryan, perhaps you should take Camille home. She's clearly overwhelmed. I'm not going anywhere. I pulled out my phone, opened my gallery. Actually, I'd love to share some documentation with everyone. Texts, videos, evidence of years of calculated. Ryan grabbed my wrist. Stop it. Now. The room went silent. Even Linda looked shocked at her son's grip on my arm. Choose carefully, Ryan, I said quietly. Everyone's watching. He released me like I'd burned him, but the damage was done. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Tom stepped forward, but Linda intercepted him. I think, she announced, we should give Camille some space. Clearly, she's having one of her episodes. Episodes? I laughed, the sound sharp enough to cut. Is that what we're calling resistance to abuse now? Tell me, Linda, did you call it an episode when you drove away Ryan's college girlfriend too? Or do you have different labels for different victims? That's enough! Ryan's voice cracked like a whip. Mom's right, you need help. The room spun slightly. In that moment, seeing Ryan stand beside his mother, watching their united front against me, something inside me, finally, irrevocably broke. You're right, I said softly. I do need help. I need a divorce lawyer. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Linda's triumphant smile slipped. This wasn't part of her script. And one more thing. I turned to address the room. Every single person here should know that Linda Thompson's charitable foundation, it's been misappropriating funds for years. Tom has the proof. I'm sure the IRS will be very interested. Linda went pale. You're lying. Am I? Check your files again, Linda. While you were busy digging up my family's history, you should have been watching your own back. I walked out of the ballroom, head high, Alex right behind me. Behind us, chaos erupted. Linda's carefully orchestrated event, dissolving into scandal and whispers. That wasn't part of the plan, Alex muttered as we reached my car. Plans change. I slid behind the wheel, hands shaking but voice steady. Call the lawyer. Tell him it's time to file everything, all of it. What about no more waiting, no more strategic patience? Linda wanted to expose my family's struggles with mental health? Fine, but now everyone knows about her family's struggles with fraud. The divorce papers sat on our kitchen table like a loaded gun. Ryan stared at them, his face a mask I no longer recognized. 3 days had passed since the gala, and Linda's empire was crumbling. The IRS investigation already underway, society whispers growing louder. You're really doing this? Ryan's voice was hollow. Destroying my family? Your family destroyed ours first. I moved toward the window, needing distance. Sign them. Mom's reputation is ruined. Her foundation was stealing from people who needed help. Your father proved it. The door burst open. Linda stormed in, mascara smeared, clutching her phone. You vindictive little... She thrust the screen at me. Look what you've done. Local news headlines screamed about the foundation's investigation. Donor statements, financial discrepancies, Tom's carefully gathered evidence, now public record. Truth hurts, doesn't it? I said quietly. She slapped me. The crack echoed through the kitchen. Ryan didn't move, didn't speak, just watched. You think you've won? Linda's voice shook. You think exposing the foundation makes you powerful? I raised him. I shaped him. He'll always choose me. I know. I touched my stinging cheek. That's why I'm leaving. Not without consequences. She pulled another paper from her bag. Remember when you signed those loan documents for the boutique renovation? The ones Ryan helped arrange? My stomach dropped. What about them? The signatures? They're problematic. Fraudulent, one might say. Ryan noticed it months ago, didn't you, darling? Ryan wouldn't meet my eyes. Mom, we agreed. Agreed what? To hold it over my head? The pieces clicked together. How long have you been planning this? Since you started pulling away, Ryan admitted. Mom suggested we needed insurance, in case you ever lost control. The room spun. They'd been setting me up for months, maybe longer. Every loan document, every signature, all potential weapons. So here's what happens. Linda smiled, composed again. You drop everything. The divorce, the allegations, all of it. Or Ryan reports the fraud. Your career, your reputation, everything you've built, gone. You'd let her do this? I asked Ryan. Watch your mother destroy me? You destroyed yourself, he said quietly. The emotional instability, the paranoid accusations. Stop! My voice cracked. Just stop pretending this is about my mental health. This is about control. It's always been about control. Linda moved closer, triumphant. Sign a statement. Recant everything you said about the foundation. Blame it on emotional stress. We'll get you help, make this all go away. I looked at the divorce papers, then at Ryan, the man I'd loved, now a stranger wearing my husband's face. Everything I'd built, everything I'd fought for, balanced on a knife's edge. My phone buzzed. A text from Tom. Don't give in. Trust me. Well? Linda demanded. What's it going to be? I picked up the divorce papers, hands steadied despite everything. You know what the difference is between us, Linda? You destroy people because you're afraid of losing control. I'm destroying your control because I'm done being afraid. You'll lose everything, Ryan warned. I already have. I walked to the door, divorce papers clutched to my chest. But here's what you don't understand. I'd rather lose everything fighting back than keep anything by giving in. You'll regret this, Linda called after me. When the police come, when your career implodes. Maybe. I turned back one last time. But not as much as you're going to regret underestimating me. I walked out, got in my car, and drove to Alex's apartment. My hands shook as I called Tom. They have evidence of fraud, I said when he answered. They're going to... Let them try! His voice was steel. Remember those documents I showed you? There's more, much more, including proof that Ryan and Linda coerced those signatures. We just needed them to show their hand. I closed my eyes, breathing deeply. So what now? Now? I could hear him smile. Now we show them what real consequences look like. The boardroom of Ryan's company felt like a courtroom, with Linda and Ryan on one side of the table, me on the other. Tom sat beside me, a manila envelope between us. Linda's lawyer kept checking his phone, probably watching their foundation's stock price continue to plummet. Let's make this quick, Linda said, her composure cracking around the edges. We all know why we're here. Do we? I opened my laptop. Because I'm here to discuss corporate fraud, coercion, and witness tampering. What are you here for? Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Camille, please. We can handle this privately. Like you handled those loan documents? Tom's voice cut through the room. The ones you and your mother manipulated to set up my daughter-in-law? Linda's lawyer leaned forward. Careful with accusations. Oh, these aren't accusations. I turned my laptop around, displaying emails between Ryan and Linda, discussing their plan to forge my signatures, to create their insurance policy against me. These are facts, documented, time-stamped facts. The color drained from Linda's face. How did you get your emails? I smiled. Tom's not just an engineer. He's a very good one, especially when it comes to digital security. This is illegal, Linda's lawyer protested. Accessing private... Actually, Tom interrupted, as a board member of the foundation and Ryan's father, I had full legal access. The real question is whether the SEC will be more interested in these emails or the foundation's creative accounting. Ryan stood abruptly. You're bluffing. You wouldn't destroy your own career just to... To what, Ryan? To protect myself? To expose the truth? I kept my voice steady. Unlike you, I'm not afraid of losing everything. I already did, the moment you chose her over me. Linda's laugh was brittle. So this is revenge? Destroying what I built because I saw through your act? No. I opened the manila envelope, sliding documents across the table. This is justice. Signed statements from 3 other women, your son's ex-girlfriends, all documenting your pattern of manipulation, emotional abuse, and financial coercion. You found them? For the first time, real fear flickered across Linda's face. Tom found them. Turns out they were all waiting for someone to finally stand up to you. Ryan grabbed the statements, scanning them frantically. Mom? What is this? It's nothing, darling. Just more of Camille's paranoid. Stop, Ryan's voice cracked. Just stop lying. Please. The silence that followed felt like glass about to shatter. Here's what happens next, I said quietly. You both signed these papers admitting to the fraud attempt against me. The Foundation investigation continues, but focuses solely on financial mismanagement, not criminal charges. You, I looked at Ryan, resign from the company quietly. And you, I turned to Linda, step down from all charity boards effective immediately. Or, Linda's voice was barely a whisper, or everything goes public. The emails, the statements, the fraud attempts, everything. Ryan slumped in his chair. You've won. Is that what you want to hear? No. I stood, gathering my things. What I wanted was a husband who chose me. What I wanted was a family who respected me. What I'm settling for is making sure you never do this to anyone else. Linda grabbed my arm as I turned to leave. You think this makes you strong? You're just proving how unstable. Take your hand off me. My voice could have frozen fire. Your gaslighting doesn't work anymore. Neither does your control. It's over, Linda. You lost. She released me like I'd burned her. As I reached the door, Ryan called out, I'm sorry, I should have... Should have what? Been stronger? Loved me more? Protected me? I didn't turn around. Save your apologies, Ryan. They're worth about as much as your promises. Walking out of that boardroom felt like emerging from underwater. Everything sharper, clearer, the weight of their manipulation finally lifting from my shoulders. Tom followed, carrying copies of everything. You okay? He asked. No. I smiled, surprising myself. But I will be. For the first time in years, I actually believe that. Behind us, through the closing door, I heard Linda's sharp intake of breath as her lawyer presumably explained just how completely she'd lost control. It wasn't quite justice, but it was enough. The boutique's grand reopening drew quite a crowd, though not for the reasons Linda would have expected. Society wives who once feared her influence now whispered behind their hands, watching me cut the ribbon with undisguised curiosity. The woman who took down Linda Thompson had become something of a local legend. Quite the turnout, Alex said, adjusting a display, though I noticed certain people are missing. I smoothed down my dress, one Linda had deemed unsuitable months ago. Tom called this morning. Said Ryan's finally moved out of their house, started therapy. And Linda? Still denying everything, last I heard. But her social calendar's surprisingly empty these days. The bell above the door chimed. I turned, greeting frozen on my lips as Ryan stepped inside. He looked different, thinner, older somehow. The crowd's chatter died down. I won't stay, he said quickly. I found this while packing. He held out a small box. Inside was the necklace I'd worn on our first date. Thought you might want it back. I don't. He nodded, unsurprised. I'm leaving Seattle. Fresh start, away from... He gestured vaguely, meaning clear. Away from Linda, away from the wreckage. Good for you. I told Mom I won't be calling for a while. That I need to figure out who I am without her voice in my head. He paused. Without her voice telling me who you were. And who am I, Ryan? Someone stronger than I ever gave you credit for. He set the box down. Someone I should have protected, not helped tear down. A young woman entered the boutique, glancing between us uncertainly. I recognized her, one of Linda's previous victims, now a successful attorney who'd helped build our case. Your 10 o'clock's here, Alex murmured. Ryan took the hint. I just wanted to say what you did, exposing everything. It wasn't just revenge. It was revolution. All these women Mom hurt over the years, they're finally speaking up. The whole system she built, the way she controlled everyone, it's crumbling. That wasn't my goal. Wasn't it? He smiled sadly. Maybe not consciously. But you did something none of us were brave enough to do. You stood up to her. Really stood up to her. I stood up for myself, I corrected. There's a difference. He nodded, turning to leave. At the door, he paused. I'm sorry, Camille. Not just for what happened, but for who I was. Who I let her make me. I know. I met his gaze steadily. But your apology doesn't change anything. No, he agreed. But maybe that's the point. Maybe some things shouldn't be fixed, just learned from. After he left, Alex squeezed my shoulder. You okay? I watched through the window as Ryan walked away, shoulders straight, but heavy with recognition. Behind me, Linda's former victim, now my client, waited to discuss her own journey to freedom. Around us, the boutique hummed with new energy, transformed from Linda's battlefield into my sanctuary. You know what's funny? I turned to Alex. For years, I thought winning meant making Linda suffer like she made me suffer, making Ryan understand how much he hurt me. But now I realize winning isn't about them at all. It's about me, about who I became while fighting back. The young attorney stepped forward, others gathering around her. Women Linda had tried to break, now standing tall in a space I'd reclaimed. Not just customers, survivors, warriors. Ready to get started? I asked them, and their collective strength filled the room like sunlight after a storm. This wasn't the ending I'd imagined when I first started fighting back. It was better, because revenge might have taken Linda down. But justice? Justice had lifted all of us up. I picked up Ryan's box, the necklace inside catching the light. Not a reminder of what I'd lost, but of what I'd found. My voice, my strength, my truth. I handed it to Alex. Add it to the donation pile, I said. Someone else might need it more. Someone just starting their own revolution.